Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another of these new Godzilla x Kong, the new Empire figures. This time we've got another Battle Roar, as we have the Skar King. And as you may notice, this figure is not actually still sealed in the box, because when I had originally gone and grabbed a whole bunch of the Godzilla stuff, I grabbed a bunch. My son also grabbed a few with what money he had left over from Christmas, some money that was gifted to him. He grabbed some more Godzillas, so he grabbed this guy. He already took it out of the packaging. He was way too excited for it, so it has already been released from its prison, but I wanted to put it back here in the box just to kind of show you what it looks like. And you can see again the artwork is the same as we had seen for the previous Battle Roar figure. And then when we turn the box around, you can see here on the back of the box the other figures that are in this line of Battle Roars, one of which we've reviewed already, which is the Godzilla. Now we're on to the Skar King, and then we would have Kong, which I actually didn't grab at the time, but I'll probably be going back to get him at some point soon. I just was already spending a massive amount of money between this and the new Mattel stuff, so, well, between these and the new Mattel stuff. So, again, pretty cool looking figure here. Let's go ahead, pop it out of the box. Of course, it's not like I have to actually do much. I just have to pick it up and take it out of the box, but we're going to go ahead and jump straight to a closer look and check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Skar King, you can see it looks pretty decent. We've got some nice looking fine detail, some nice very fine skin texture as well as fur. You can see the skin there around the eye area looks pretty decent. We have some blue eyes with some black pupils. Looks like we've got a white spot to kind of give it that eye shine. Definitely a bit of a mean look on the face of the figure. You can see the mouth is sculpted in an open position. We've got the teeth there, even though they look a little bit on the generic side. They look very squared off, I guess you could say. We don't have any kind of like an articulated jaw or anything, but it does still move because it is a real feel, which you can see. It does still actually move, and that's, of course, part of the action feature, which we'll get to here in a little bit, but you can see that you can kind of squish the face up a little bit. So I do really quite like that. And again, you can see we've got a bit of variation of color. We have like an off-white here for the snout. You can see the nostrils sculpted nicely. And then you've got another area of the off-white there, another area up here, and then you can see that we basically have reds for the remainder of the head. You can see the ear is also quite nicely sculpted. The fur on the back of the head also looks really good. They've definitely done a good job of sculpting the fur out, and when it actually transitions from the rubber to the plastic, you can see it lines up pretty nicely. You can see we've got this, I guess you would call it like some sort of a vertebrae-like belt of some kind. I'm not really sure. You can see we've also got like a jaw here that sits over the shoulder of our Skar King, which is pretty cool. As you move down, that's actually a separate piece, is it? No, it kind of, over here you can see you can kind of like pull it off, but certain areas it is actually connected. Like it's connected there, but you can move it a little bit here. So it is sort of a rubbery feel. The jaw area here is as well, but you can't actually pull it off of the figure, it seems. It does kind of hide the area, though, for the sound. You can see the holes right there, but it's kind of hidden because of that. You see a little more of that off-white here in the chest. Again, you can see the actual skin texture of the chest also looks pretty decent. As you move out into the arms, we do have some really nice vibrant detail when it comes to the fur of the Skar King. You see a little more of that off-white as you lead out here. It's more almost like it's like a very interesting creamy color. I don't even know how to describe it. But you can see, again, we transition from the red to that color as you lead out. You have some more red stripes here running along as you lead out into the hand. And you can see the actual skin texture doesn't really look that great. Almost a little bit awkward looking, I would say. Yeah, it looks okay over here on the side of the hand, but up here on the top, that looks very strange. Almost looks like a corpse that is now very, very pale. As far as articulation goes, you do have articulation in the shoulder, but it only goes forward and back. You don't have any elbow articulation, which I think would have been a really nice touch, because otherwise it's kind of like always stuck in this awkward position. Kind of looks like we would have wrist articulation, but we don't. It just looks that way. But again, same deal for this arm over here, only forward and back when it comes to the articulation. But other than that, the sculpting and everything in the paintwork looks pretty decent. I really do like the fur detail. Not a huge fan of the skin detail, but maybe that's exactly how it looks in the film. I haven't seen it yet. Moving down here, you can see that we again pick up some more fur. You have more of that little off-white area there, kind of striping and designing in. Same deal here for the back of the Skar King. You can see all of the fur looks really good. He has a kind of a muscular look to him as well. Lots of screw holes on the back of the figure, unfortunately. And just like with the Godzilla, you can see the button is extended out. I don't know why it's like that. I really think that's a bit of an eyesore. But then again, we've got screw holes and everything back here, which are all part of the eyesore. But I feel like the button could have been perfectly flush and it would have been just fine. Same situation with the Godzilla figure. I think they just did it so it's obvious where the button is, I guess, but I'm not a big fan of that. As you move down, though, into the legs, you can see, again, the musculature of the legs is nicely defined. The fur also is really nicely sculpted. Overall, I think the actual fine detail of the Skar King is a lot more impressive and a lot more vibrant than what we had seen on the Godzilla. It's really nicely done on this figure. You can see the knees and everything, and then you lead down into the feet. The feet are also nicely sculpted, and again, the skin has a bit of a weird look to it, but the fur leading down into the feet, they're nice. That area is nicely sculpted. The toes are also nicely sculpted, but the actual texturing isn't so great on the figure. It's okay, but not really that great. And then, of course, we have articulation again in the legs, but it's only forward and back, and probably like some of the most awkward looking articulation, because you can only like twist the leg like this, so it's very strange. I'm really not a big fan of the articulation of the figure, but outside of that, he's at least visually a really nice looking figure. As far as his action feature and sound goes, again, we've got the button here on the back. So I do like, first of all, the noises are okay. They're nothing too impressive. They sound all right. But I do like the way that the mouth works, and I like the fact that they've been including the real feel on a few of their figures, and that's pretty fun. Again, definitely taking me back, way back to the Kenner Jurassic Park line. If you are a fan of that line, you'll probably enjoy that aspect of these figures. But just in general, I really like how cool the mouth looks when it moves. Let's do it once more. Definitely helps to give it at least a bit of a realistic look, I would say. Man, I really hate that these arms are like held into that position. It drives me nuts. As far as a size goes, for a height, you are looking at just under 7 inches, so a little bit under, not quite at 7 inches, or around the, I would say about 17.5 centimeters, maybe a hair over. You're not really going to get much as far as a size any other way, so for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Skar King figure, showing you that it's got a pretty decent size. You know, it's definitely not a small figure by any means, but it's also not a massive one, which they do have a large version of this creature out. I just didn't pick it up quite yet, but, you know, we'll get there probably at some point. And then, of course, a comparison that I would imagine you would definitely want to see. We have the Battle Roar Godzilla next to the Battle Roar Skar King, and you can see that the Godzilla is obviously quite a bit larger than our Skar King is. And for fun, we also have the Haya Godzilla here, again, the one that I've been using lately for a few comparisons here with the new Godzilla X Kong figures. We've got the burning version of Godzilla from Haya next to our Skar King. And even though he's not out of the packaging, we do have one of the previous Playmates Kong figures next to the newest version of the Playmates figures here with the Skar King. I wanted to bring this one in and just kind of give you an idea of a size next to the Skar King in case you happen to have one of the older Kong figures. So this brand new Playmates Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire Skar King, the Battle Roar version, is okay. He's not really a great figure. The articulation isn't nearly as nice as I would expect it to be, especially when you look back to the previous figures from, you know, Kong Skull Island or Godzilla vs. Kong and stuff like that. Like, those figures had way better articulation. There was just a lot more to it. You know, elbow articulation, wrist articulation, knee articulation. You had a good bit going on with those figures. This one, the articulation is super bare bones, and I don't know why. Like, you can't bend the elbows at all. You have no wrist articulation, or at least not that I was able to get the wrists to move. And the leg articulation is as generic as it gets. It's the type of articulation I would expect to have seen on some toys that I had when I was growing up, like way back in the 80s and 90s. Once you move past the really bad articulation, though, you do have some pretty nice looking sculpt and fine detail. And as I said earlier, I think the actual sculpt and the fine detail contained within is more impressive than what we saw on the Godzilla figure. But the Godzilla figure had a little bit better articulation. Not really great, but a little bit better. I think just the way the articulation moved on the Godzilla looked better than what we have for our Skar King. But the fine detail definitely looks really good on the figure. The paintwork is also pretty nice. Again, you've got paint the entire way through the body. I think the only thing that you could look at this and say, well, that's not painted would be like the fingernails and toenails, because other than that, you've got painted teeth. You have the different variations of color running through the body from head to toe. You also have painted eyes and everything. So they've done a decent job as far as that goes. The sound is okay. The noises, again, I haven't seen the film, so I don't know what type of noises this creature makes, but the ones that we have here are okay. They're just not really anything super impressive, but the action feature itself is really fun. I actually really quite like the fact that it has that kind of rubbery, real feel face, and that the mouth moves so nice and naturally. That is pretty cool. So this figure's kind of a mixed bag. You know, there's some good things about it, some bad things about it, but it's at least a pretty cool new figure from the Godzilla X Kong New Empire toy line that we can collect and add to our collections. So if you are interested, head to your local Target, because that's where I scored mine. These ones are about $15 for the Battle Roar figures, so it's not too bad, I guess. Grab it again if you are interested, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.